go. Hello, YouTube. Hello. Note to self. Speak before you go live. How's it going, everybody? It's the Jimmy Doane Show. That means it's 4 o'clock right here on YouTube, New York time. We do this Sunday and Wednesday for your viewing entertainment. This is a video podcast. You can also find us around the web in video format if you search on Twitter. I don't know what we're up there. I don't think it's not on your Twitter. It's like on my Twitter, like Counselor Curtis. I think you can find it though. Facebook also sometimes, and around the web in audio format. And if you search for Jimmy Doane, D-O-A-N-E, you'll find us on Libsyn, Apple, Amazon, Google, SoundCloud, and Spotify. Very nice little platform over there. Today is the 9th day of December. Happy birthday, Uncle. 2020. I'm in the studio. I'm in the dystopian future studios. And you are in the alternate timeline.
Alternate timeline, good.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty, well, not much.
Yeah?
A couple of things here and there, but Bitcoin is just hovering still around 18,200 and change.
Uh-huh.
So we're waiting for the giant leap up to 50,000 or something.
Yeah, you think?
Well, I don't know. We're still waiting on, I see a couple more states have ratified their counts, and it's interesting. Rudy got coronavirus.
Yeah.
So he's out for a while, I guess.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah. But I gotta say, I mean, here's the thing. You gotta remember about the news. I mean, obviously, we've said this. Yeah, I mean, for the next 50 days, don't, whatever it is, don't believe it. Because let me tell you something. The aliens are gonna land, probably leave an obelisk or something. Yeah, baby Jesus will return, and impending global doom will impend.
Well, you'll be pleased to know that here on this piece, on my notes page here, I have almost nothing about that kind of news.
Okay.
This is just some interesting stuff that I thought about. The National Defense Authorization Act seeks to halt Trump's troop withdrawals from Afghanistan and Germany.
Mm-hmm.
Now, what this means is he's the one guy that ostensibly in the last 200 years of the United States has not instigated a war.
Yeah, I was worried about that. I mean, everybody, I guess, it was a wild card, the unknown.
The unknown. Well, but when you think about the people that have dropped bombs, Clinton and all these people, everybody. I mean, killed literally thousands and thousands. Not to mention the U.S. soldiers and all those people dead. So anyway, he hadn't done it. What he wants to do, and what he said was, "I'd like to withdraw some troops." Well, needless to say, the defense
people.
What
a dictator!
Yeah, what a dictator! Right? You want to do what? You're crazy. So there is what they want. They want to block the President Trump's planned troop withdrawals. And here's what they're doing. They said for Afghanistan, there's language in the bill. This is some kind of bill that they're getting ready to pass that would block funding to reduce troop numbers. Apparently, it costs money to reduce the troops. I'm not sure exactly. I guess they have to pay money to get them out of there.
Withdraw funds or something.
Yeah, something like that. So they blocked that. The Pentagon, and they want to make sure that the Pentagon, the State Department, and the Director of National Intelligence want to know how this is going to affect national security. So they don't want to wait. They want to hear from the warmongers first to see if we should draw down. And of course, the drawdown is like nothing. Here it is. It says here, drop lower. If it keeps dropping down, then they will still reassess it each time it drops 1,000 troops or something. Now, you have to understand, we've got, 500,000 troops under arms or something, or 1 million, I don't know how many.
It's somewhere between 1.25.
Okay, 1.5 million. And so we're talking about 1,000 here and 1,000 there, okay?
Yeah.
Hardly what you'd call, I don't see the Afghani army storming the beach at Daytona to take over the United States. I could be wrong, but I don't see that. Another troop drawdown President Trump's Pentagon is planning is a reduction in the forces of Germany. Now, of course, Germany, in case they're interested, We wonked up on Germany about 70 years ago, pretty much.
Well, they need our help still.
Still right. And so if you go to Frankfurt or some of these places, they're the huge bases and everything. They've been there for 70 years.
Yeah, that's where we have tens of thousands there.
Tens of thousands. Well, it says here, what they want to do is reduce the forces in Germany from 36,000 to 24,000.
There you go.
So they want to reduce it by about 12,000. And congressional aides told the Hill that the compromise version that would block this drawdown. Now, what's interesting is having traveled around Germany, you've gone to Checkpoint Charlie and all this other kind of stuff with the U.S. And of course, the U.S. forces were in Germany for a major reason, and that was to stop the Ruskies from overrunning Europe. Probably not a real problem.
At this point,
No, I don't think so. When they womped down the wall in '89 or whatever it was,
89, yeah.
89, November of '89, pretty much it was over.
That was capitulation.
Yeah, and then when it broke up in '91 or whatever, when they finally broke it all up, I guess, and became not the USSR but just Russia.
Right.
And Lithuania and all those other places. So I just thought it was interesting that
Stan.
yeah, right, exactly. Yeah. But I thought it was it's fascinating to me how the people that are, when you realize
These are the nun whippers.
Yeah.
This is straight out of the nun whipping situation. I mean, these are people who obviously somebody's getting paid.
Oh yeah, well you realize that the military budget
Tens
is
of thousands of
$800 billion
Right.
is the defense budget. Roughly.
Yeah.
That's what is on paper. Now
Yeah, right.
That
is
is
it. That is the last dollar.
That's right.
This is all transparent and above board.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, clearly this is one of those. And of course, as we know, our military is 10 times as big as the
We
next.
have 12 carrier groups or something like that.
And which are probably obsolete in today's hypersonic missile universe.
Well, you say it, but it's interesting. They've when you look at a carrier group, I'm not saying you have 12 of them, okay?
And you got to have a hypersonic missile.
Yeah, right. That's first of all, you have to have one. That's right.
Otherwise,
a
carrier group is a bit intimidating.
You do understand that a carrier group is like, I don't know, I'm guessing, okay? Correct me if I'm wrong. It's like 30 ships. There's destroyers,
right?
And there's everything you can imagine all surrounding the carrier. Not to mention these guns, these like Gatling guns that fire out 500,000 uranium depleted bullets, per second or whatever the hell it is. I mean, even if you have a hypersonic, if you detect it, think about it. If you detect it 10 miles away, 15 miles away, it's going to take 2 seconds, 3 seconds, I don't know, 10 seconds to get there. You put up a shield of these bullets, it's going to destruct someplace. It probably is.
Yeah, I mean, I think it'll be as long as you said as they get. If you get that half a second or 2 second detection,
Yeah.
then you'll be.
It's all
okay.
automatic. It's all computerized, and anyway.
Well, what it'll do, what it'll do is it'll project a ghost over to the left or something,
Yeah.
and draw the gun's fire
Right.
or something.
Yeah, like you remember that was what was cool about that was what was cool in not the Terminator, but in
Top Gun.
no, it was in it was in the Arnold one where he had to go to Mars.
Total Recall.
Total Recall, and didn't he have a thing here that kind of put him over here someplace to fool?
I don't know.
Yeah, it was kind of cool. It was a
Anyway, they did it in Top Gun, of course. Remember, there's 2 planes. No, there's 4. No, there's 5.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Yeah.
we'll see. Look, it's going to go back and forth, but I'm with you. Look, and the bottom line is we can certainly cut the defense budget.
Well,
and
heresy, you're going to hear about that.
Who's this that's fighting against the defense budget cuts? And of course they call it increases because, of course, like you said, to draw down the troops. But for the love of God, like we don't need 36,000 troops in Germany anymore.
Yeah, to protect against the Ruskies. I just not sure. First of all, one of the things you do realize is that since the USSR disintegrated, there's all kinds of other countries out there on the border of Germany between them and Russia.
Well, look,
They
the
could overrun
Russian-
Lithuania.
The Russian economy is about the size of Spain's right now.
Yeah, right.
I mean, it's not exactly the juggernaut that it has been in the past. They're very heavily oil dependent, and so they're not invading anybody. We don't need the troops there to keep the peace like we're some sort of police force for Europe or anything. Everybody, they can handle all that stuff. We could literally sell that entire base off, bring all those people, all those troops home, and we could do that in 5 other places around the world too. I'm all for it. Now, one nice thing, I'm all for leaving them out there where there's a national strategic interest, in actual, real national strategic interest.
And where would that be?
I don't know. And I would listen to the Joint Chiefs when they describe that kind of stuff. But there's a difference between that and what they normally say, which is national interest, which is money, usually. Like, oh, some partner of ours or some this or that. Like, for all the regional affairs that anybody wants to get involved in, my solution is very simple. You're a free American. Go ahead and buy up some tanks and other shit with your other free Americans and go out and join like the militia group, like the French Foreign Legion or something. You know, get involved if that's what you want to do. If you want to help out, you should be able to arm up and go in there. But don't expect the U.S. to come rescue you if you get your ass, caught or something like that. I mean, that's on you. That's part of your freedom. But go if you want to help out in Sudan or something like that. That's not the United States' national security interest. That's what I'm getting at. And there's a whole bunch of places. We're in Yemen right now. And look, like I said, if you can make a national security interest that, okay, Yemen's connected with Iran and
The hip bone's connected to the...
something. But make that argument. Now, at least they did ask that question. That seemed to be the question they said, which is, explain to us how this is in the United States national security interest,
Right.
this drawdown, or how it's going to affect the United States. Okay, here's how it's going to affect it. It's going to make us more secure.
Yeah.
That's the way I would say.
Yeah.
I would say we're getting our big schnoz out of their business. We don't need. There's no wars happening in Europe right now, and if there were, we wouldn't want to be involved in it.
That's right.
This is a remnant of a 70-year, multi-decades, 4-score-7. However long ago it's been 3-score-10.
That's 3-10.
And so, come on, man. Like, get our troops home from there, and Japan, the Philippines, there are these weird places where we are. Now, if you want to make some kind of argument that if we don't stay in Japan, that they're going to have to arm up because China or something, then make the argument. Let's hear it. That's at least an argument. Because Japan hasn't had really a national army since the Second World War.
No.
And if we pulled out of there, my guess is they would. But let them, maybe. I mean, maybe that's...
120 million people in Japan, yeah, they can...
120 million.
That's what I said.
Yeah, okay. They can do it.
Yeah, I would imagine they could raise a 1-million-man army pretty quick.
No problem.
So yeah, but they're all worried about China and everything. Well, let's see what happens first. See, China's got 1 aircraft carrier.
Yeah. Well, I mean, but they do have tons and tons of people they can mobilize.
I suppose that's true, but you got to get them there too, and then you have to support the logistics. You understand? One of the things when you think about this for a second, when we had 750,000 people in Vietnam over the span of time, and 50-some thousand deaths. Mm-hmm. But at any given time, the number of people were on there were I don't know what the ratio was, but it's like 5 to 1 support people versus actual carrying the gun going through the through the what you call it. I mean, your chances of being dead in Vietnam were slim, actually. Interestingly enough, over the period.
Well, yeah, maybe so, but
okay, whatever.
At least we didn't. Go ahead.
What I was going to say was
he didn't exactly stop all the wars. He didn't start any new ones. I'll give him credit for that.
Yeah.
Definitely gets a big green check for that, or blue check.
So anyway, but what is interesting, of course, is that the whole defense armament, whatever it is, the military industrial complex is huge.
Oh yeah.
And don't be surprised if we find a justification for arming up again with the next administration.
Well, and of course, looking at the people who he's pulled in, apparently.
Boy, I'll tell you, he's pulled in some real you know,
People, some status quo
probably get Bolton back in there. The original.
You never know. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Biden started a war or two. I mean, it's interesting that the Democrats have sort of swung more towards the warring in the last few decades, ever since Clinton, basically.
Well,
I mean,
you know, Johnson was the one who, you know, really ramped up the Vietnam thing.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, he really, I mean, it was when he took in '64, there was nobody there hardly.
Yeah, I guess I don't really remember.
I remember specifically because I was getting drafted
to Reagan.
I was getting drafted. They sent me a notice and said, "Come on down." Yeah.
Hey, buddy.
Yeah. Come on down. We wanted to go to Swampland.
Yeah.
And that was right when they were ramping up. '67 was when I got my notice. I cleverly avoided it. So, whatever. Okay, moving on.
Okay.
This is another thing that's really fascinating. About has to do with the COVID thing. A little bit. America's highest paid hooker sues Nevada to reopen the brothels.
Yeah. Remember I mentioned her last?
Did you?
Yeah, we talked about she's got a GoFundMe.
Well, she's got a GoFundMe that's apparently raised $8,000 or $9,000 to help for her legal fees on this.
Right.
She's been self-funding so far. Interesting. Her name is Alice Little. She's 4'10". She's little.
Well, you know,
I'm telling you. Well, I went to her Snapchat page or whatever it was just for laughs. But she said, well, no, it's interesting. So anyway.
Research. It was all research.
That's what I'm talking about. So, legal
I haven't done any research, but I spent hours on this.
I mean, I really had to do some deep research on this.
That's right.
Legal sex worker in Nevada, and quite possibly the highest paid one in the U.S., which I doubt that. But anyway, he's suing the state of Nevada to reopen its brothels, according to Yahoo Life, which, of course, again, you got to worry about Yahoo. But still, I can understand it. Little is an employee of the Bunny Ranch, legal Nevada brothel in Mound House, Nevada. The brothel has been closed since March 17th, despite other close contact businesses reopening. So I don't get much closer than a hooker, but I mean, you know, still, if you're going to open up, you know, look, even if you're eating outside, that's close, you know, table or something like that.
Yeah.
So anyway, so she filed a complaint a motion for a preliminary injunction against Nevada's governor, Steve Sisolak, in the 3rd Judicial District Court in Lyons County to reopen the brothels. She cites unstated damages for her lost wages and seeks the right for her and other licensed sex workers to ply their legal trade at private locations. Now, is she
Yeah,
going to
I
win?
can't state the damages here in court. Huh?
Yeah, right, exactly. Normally I get, you know, that's, let me show you my tax return.
That's right. Well, so what were you going to say?
I just was going to say it's interesting that here we have somebody else suing for loss of wages.
Well, finally, and they're absolutely right. I mean, she's suing on equal protection grounds.
Yeah.
And they should be. That's one of the things. They've drawn arbitrary rules all over.
Really
the place.
arbitrary. I mean, this is like big A arbitrary.
Yeah, people don't realize statutes are actually quite complex when it comes down to it. I took a class in legislation, and there are a few tricks to it, and there are some pitfalls you can't get out of. There's some things that just can't be legislated cleanly, and but this is stuff that they could do in some sort of fair way, but the whole thing is blatantly unconstitutional on its face anyway.
Well,
They've never been able to keep the healthy people at home. That's not a thing.
I'm going to talk to you a minute about that too.
Go ahead.
It's the 3rd Judicial District Court. Is that federal? 3rd District?
No way to know.
District
States
court.
have districts, and so does
It says here in Lyon County, so I guess it's a county.
Okay, so that's a
lower.
county court.
Yes, yeah,
that's
county.
probably an appeals court from the county.
Okay, all right, just curious.
The state court.
Now, Christmas is on its way.
See, I told you baby Jesus was going to...
Well, it's interesting. Now, this is not only in the UK, but the headline here, the clickbait for me was UK, United Kingdom gangs launch Fast and Furious style highway thefts on trucks to steal the PlayStation 5S.
Oh my God.
Now, let me tell you something. This is Christmas time. Every Christmas, you know, you have Beanie Babies, or you had, what was Tickle Me Elmo, or all, there is some particular item that gets sold out.
These things are worth $1,000 a piece.
Something like that. I mean, people are asking big money. People that have got them are, they're on eBay.
Each one, a 118-wheeler is millions of dollars worth of.
Well, and of course what they're talking about is the Times reported the criminal gangs are launching daring raids on highways to steal PlayStations, among other things, from tractor trailers while moving at more than 50 miles an hour.
This is a great plot twist in a kids movie, You
Well,
just have
it's
this
in Fast and Furious, apparently. The movie.
They steal toys.
No, they're stealing something.
Yeah, but see the toy.
I remember one of my favorite cartoonists. I can't remember when the Post, the magazine, the Post, used to have cartoons, and I used to you'd read it just for the cartoons, and I'll never forget.
What's a magazine?
It was a magazine, like competed with Life and Look.
Oh, okay.
Which probably people you never heard of them, okay? But it was where this guy was, on the hood of his car, and he's reaching into the back of a Wells Fargo. And the driver's saying, "Hurry up! You can't hold this for long." He's reaching in the back of the Wells Fargo thing to try and get the money. So, but this is apparently the same kind of thing almost. They're all while moving at 50 miles an hour. Since the beginning of the year, 27 examples of these highway heists have been reported to authorities, including crooks climbing on the hood of a vehicle with cutting gear to break into the back of the tractor trailer. So here you're running down the highway in your car, and your buddy's on the hood. And of course, I guess you have to be some kind of, these are the guys that used to walk on airplane wings, I guess.
Yeah.
But he's got the bolt cutters, and they pull up right, this far back from the tractor trailer. You clip this fence, and you open up the door at 50 miles an hour. I mean, you gotta figure, is it really worth it? I guess. I just thought these highway thefts are something out of Fast and Furious or Grand Theft Auto. Detectives are worried that criminals will be stepping up highway robberies ahead of Christmas. You think? What I'm saying is that it reminds me a little bit.
How many of them there can be? I mean.
Well, again, apparently, when you're talking about these, when you have a truck full of these things, and also.
Yeah, but I mean, how many trucks can there be from the supply?
Well, but they're stealing other stuff too. It says here, TVs, mobile phones, cigarettes, and cosmetics. So, I mean, you're hauling down the highway, and you get. I don't know how you unload it at that point. I mean, because you're standing there, you're inside the truck. There's all this crap, and now what?
Well, that's organized crime level stuff. So what they do is bring that back to a central location where they.
How do you get it out of the truck?
They've got fences and stuff.
How do you get it physically out of the truck? You've opened up the truck back doors.
You probably take the truck.
Oh, well, yeah, well, why didn't you just go ahead and take it ahead of time? I mean, you could take it from a parking lot.
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm with you.
So I just was curious to know how you clip open, the doors open up, and the car pulls back away a little bit, but you get in the truck. Now you're in the truck, and there's 50,000 pounds of boxes and shit. Now what?
Now the guys in the front bounce you to death.
Yeah, like they did. You remember in the first movie with
Silver Streak?
Not Silver Streak, although that was a good one too. No, the first one movie where he was trying to sell cigarettes that have stolen cigarettes out of.
Yeah, there you go. Eddie Murphy. 48 hours.
Huh?
48 hours.
No, it wasn't 48 hours.
Oh, Beverly Hills Cop.
Beverly Hills Cop, the first one.
Businessman.
The first one. Yeah, I'm bidding. I'm doing bidding man. I'm bidding man. Come on.
That's right.
I'm not doing bidding man.
So yeah, well,
that was the best one. I'll tell you, that was the best one. And the music was so great during that chase.
Yeah.
I mean, it was really great music. So anyway, speaking of Christmas gifts.
Okay.
Apple's $549 AirPods Max are already sold out for the year.
Aha.
Now these are the the ones, the Bluetoothy ones that to replace the
Geez, so forget about PlayStations, man. This is the truck you want to hit.
I mean, seriously, they come in a box about this big.
Right.
You know,
so you can get a gene of them in a
I mean, seriously, Apple's freshly announced wireless headphones, the AirPods Max, are one of the priciest around, and yet, judging by the shipping times, they're selling like hotcakes. And what's his name? What's his name from Gilbert? You know, Adams was talking about this. You know, and he said, "I've got to have them too. I just, you know, it's Apple's fault. They make me want to have them." And I'm reminded of when the iPod first came out. I talked about this, I think, last time, and that was they were being stolen on subways. People were sitting there on the subways in New York City, and they had the little white things, you know, and people would come by and rip them off because they were like $550. This is like a dozen. No, let's see. This would have been almost 18 years ago, 2001 or something, when the iPod came out, first came out. So anyway, at the time of the writing, the headphones were 12 to 14 weeks shipping, no matter what color you choose. No chance of you'll be lucky to get them before March if you order them right now. So, you know, you give somebody a coupon.
Yeah.
It's amazing to me. This is what happens when you have something like this. And I think Scott Adams perfectly hit it on the head when he said, "I don't know. I just want them." You know, they make me want them.
Right.
And it has to do, I guess, with the scarcity. As they point out here in this article, competing products with similar features are a lot less expensive. For comparison, Sony's blah 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 is $279, Bose's Quiet Comfort are $269, and B&W's something are $340. So for like half the money, you're supposed to be able to get a pretty good one. Now, and these earphones, if you want to know, they're not the ones that fit in your ear like the regular. They're over.
Oh, okay.
They're over. So you got to realize, you got to think that the sound's going to be pretty good, but you know, really that much better? I don't know.
Yeah, and then you have to be willing to wear something on your ears. I mean, that's I think something that they'll.
Well, it's funny you should say that because, 65 years ago, whenever I got my ham radio license, you had, in order to listen to code and stuff, you had headphones, but they were all plasticky. You know, there were no muffs or anything like that.
Right.
And they would press on your ears. I mean, but of course, I was like, how old was I?
You take the pain
13.
at that
I
age.
took the pain.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about it.
Yeah.
But I mean, you'd wear those headphones for 4 or 5 hours. Listen to stations and tuning around to get somebody. And
I don't like the earbuds. Hurt my ears. Always have.
Yeah.
Now I understand that there's one issue with that in terms of the compression. Some of the old style earbuds, in fact, all of the old ones leading up to in the last 15 or so years, and I don't know how many of the new ones have been adapted, but the old ones would release a pressure wave inside your ear that they wouldn't be able to escape because the plug itself was holding the pressure in. In other words, they're causing a little bit of damage to your ears with the old style, but they figured out that if they vent them, basically make them so that the wave can get past it back out the other way, then they can make a clearer, better sound, and it doesn't hurt you. And I presume that technology has been incorporated into the new waves of these earbuds. I presume that's why these ones are better. And they're also called Comfort or whatever. Whenever I see an advertisement that says,
Quiet Comfort 35.
See, that's, whenever I hear that, I'm like, my advertising bell goes off. It says, well, they did a study, and it said, what's the problem with them? Well, they're not comfortable enough, and
one thing though, when you cover up your ear, I sweat.
Well, exactly. It's like
I will say
the whole cover is probably a better sound, but less comfortable.
It's interesting. It depends on a lot of things. I know that when you look at people, for instance, in the broadcast industry, if you're on a show for 3 hours, you have headphones on for 3 hours. I don't know. Maybe that's the difference between a $50 headphone and a $600 headphone. I don't know.
Yeah.
I've worn a lot of them. The ones that I use now for the that I use in the. I have a remote for the TV, and it has its own little plug-in thing. But those fit very loose. As a matter, it kind of upsets me a little bit, but they're really loose.
Mm-hmm.
And the bad news about being loose is you can hear a lot of noises outside. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah,
well, that's probably the quiet part of the comfort. In the
well, of course, if they have the silencing thing, the whatever they call
noise reduction.
Noise reduction. Yeah, that's where they sample the sound.
They have them in the little tiny ones like that yet, but maybe that's the new wave, so to speak.
Okay, moving along.
Go for it.
Let me just see here. Okay, moving along.
You started to touch on COVID.
I'm going to tell you right now, COVID-19 becomes personal in one town as neighbors die and a mask debate rages. In a state where the Republican governor, Kristi Noem, has defied calls for a statewide mask mandate, even as cases hit record levels, many of this rural community, an hour west of Sioux Falls, ignored the virus for months, not bothering with masks or social distancing. Restaurants were packed, big weddings and funerals went as planned. Now, I don't know how big that city is, Mitchell, South Dakota. I don't think it's that large, 15 or 20,000 maybe.
Well, I mean, every phrase in those sentences was overbroad.
Oh, yeah.
And,
yeah, it gets better.
Oh, okay.
A lone city council member in Mitchell tried to introduce a mask mandate on October 19th. It's like a month and a half ago. Was ridiculed. Since then, the town has been inundated with the coronavirus, with the hospital bursting to capacity and a 38% positivity rate, which I don't even know what that means.
I swear to God, it sounds like these articles are written by a bad AI.
Yeah, could be.
And the AI has been told, all right, here are your keywords, and then you're going to throw in a statistic and just make something up. Say 39% negative.
Yeah. We bring in some data here. Bring in some data. I got data.
That's it. No problem. We're at 39%.
Since then, the town has been inundated with corona, with the hospital. Okay. Then the local civic leaders started dying. Now, guess what?
Started dying.
Yeah, started dying. The bike shop guy, the high school referee, a state representative, and one doctor who lost 8 patients in a week.
What about the children?
I didn't say anything about the children.
Oh my God.
Now the town council is trying again without a statewide mask mandate. Can Mitchell save itself? And here's stay home.
Well, look, only if they get a notice from the state do they wise up enough.
Can you imagine?
To do that. We know what the right thing to do is, but not until I get
I get an official notice from the state.
That's right, from the state. No, and look, hey, and that, I mean, well, I don't know. Do you need one from Trump or from Biden also? Do you need the positive affirmation from him also? Or
well, of course they're gonna all do suggestions.
I know. See, that's the power of the suggestion.
Bully pulpit.
From a truth sayer like Biden.
Yeah.
The soothsayer, the sort of, and he's gonna strongly suggest, and you got Cuomo up there, like Frank Sinatra or what did he say? De Niro.
Yeah.
And he's gonna say, now wear your mask, and so these people would finally do it. It's interesting. Yeah, it seems like the AI is writing it now. And anybody who dies, of course, they're an evil non-mask wearer. Honestly, I can't wait till the study comes out that says that the mask wearers were believing too much in the mask. I mean, to the extent that you think the mask works, you act more recklessly. Right? You go out
it's like
more.
Airbags.
Right. Exactly.
In a car. Yeah.
So I mean, are you just shopping willy-nilly because you're wearing your mask? You think that protects you?
I'm going to talk a little bit more about that here in a minute, but
The whole mask thing, look, it all comes down to personal responsibility, like you said. If you said from the beginning, look, I made this thing so long ago. I got this graph over here. It's faded already. I mean, it's we made it in February.
yeah.
And it just says if you're vulnerable, stay home. If you think you're in any danger, stay home. Otherwise,
Wear 2 masks.
well, and just stay home. You know, forget about the mask, forget about touching stuff, forget about the 6 feet, forget about all that calculation. One of the things that we know pretty well is if you don't have any contact with any humans, there's a high degree of certainty you won't encounter it.
Although they have been talking about doorknobs.
And pets, there's a bunch of stuff that
Yeah.
could still happen.
Yeah.
Okay, but it's much less than all this 6-foot calculation bullshit. I'm wearing the mask. I'm way back over here. I'm way back over here. Come on.
Yeah.
I mean, look, it's you only have to be around somebody who's holding a cigarette to realize how much air circulates and
Yeah, and that's the truth. I mean, yeah, because it is interesting. Of course, I quit, 6 or 7 or 8 years ago. I quit smoking, and now, literally, if outside of a store, in the parking lot, if somebody had a cigarette in the last 15 minutes, I know it.
there you go.
I mean, that's it.
And I'll bet you. I mean, everybody's talked about the size of everything, but that's a measure. And then the lockdowns obviously have never been constitutional. I mean, how they got away with locking down healthy people, keeping healthy people away from their jobs.
Well, like this hooker girl.
Right, exactly.
What the hell?
It's amazing. I mean, the constitutional rule demands that when somebody craft a law that impinges on one of your fundamental rights,
Right.
as defined and outlined in the first 10 amendments, that is, religion, assembly, and presumably work, going outside, those things are in there in implicit
Inalienable.
ways. Right.
Inalienable rights.
And well, I mean, they can alienate you from them if you do something. You go kill somebody,
Right.
they're going to take away your right to liberty, and life maybe, and property. But if you don't do anything, you can't just be arbitrarily, willy-nilly have your rights impinged unless they do it, as the law states, as the case law states, in a narrowly tailored fashion. It demands that the law is narrowly tailored to specifically address the problem, and it has to be neutral across parties. It can't be
Well, it can't be racial or...
well, right. Or even
course,
arbitrary in any way. It has to affect everybody pretty much.
Well, that ship sailed so long ago. It's unbelievable. I mean,
I mean, that's how they normally do it. That's why she's got a chance with this lawsuit, because she can go in there and say, look, it's arbitrary. What you've done affects me in a way that is arbitrary, and there's no due process involved.
Right.
I mean, there's a bunch of things that she should raise. And
I'm surprised it hadn't been raised already.
I am too. I'm surprised more and more people. Now, maybe this girl is one of these people who's like, I got nothing to lose.
Yeah.
And by the way, I can gain a little advertising here, get on the national news, and get my hits up or whatever. But I just can't believe it. Now, you've heard about the vaccine situation?
Which, let me just see. I don't have anything here on the vaccine. I did hear about some of it. Yeah.
Okay.
What? Tell me.
Well, there's an interesting development in the vaccine situation.
Okay.
And this is it. Most people assume, hey, if there's a vaccine, maybe you're going to have to get it to go out in the public or something.
Yeah, we already talked about that. Yeah.
Okay. And of course, the reason being that if you don't get it, then you can spread the disease to somebody else.
But how can you spread it to somebody who's been vaccinated?
Well, right, you can't. That's the whole point.
Okay.
Okay, but it turns out that if you've been vaccinated, you could still spread the disease.
What?
Yeah. You could get it and not have it affect you and yet be a carrier.
Really?
Yeah.
Where'd this come from? I don't remember seeing this one.
This is in the literature released by all three of the pharmaceutical companies, allegedly.
Okay.
And
Gotta
it,
say allegedly.
well, yeah. I mean, I got it from Alan Dershowitz.
Okay.
Who was doing, and that's a pretty reliable source. He said he got it from a very well-known, prestigious online or technical journal. And why would they put this out there? I mean, maybe just to scare people. I don't know. But it was kind of an aside, the way that he read it. But basically, it says you can get the vaccine, it'll protect you, but it won't protect other people. Now you got to ask yourself this question: if it won't protect other people, then what difference does it make in terms of, from a legal standpoint? You know, can the state therefore has no interest in giving you the vaccine, because if you get it, that's on you. If you don't get it, I mean, if you get the vaccine and you don't get the
Coronavirus.
yeah, then okay, you're protected. But if you get the vaccine and then you're out traveling around, passing it around, you would pass it to other people who have not got the vaccine. In other words, there would be a public health reason why they would not want you to have a vaccine which only protected you.
I don't get that.
Well, because it makes you immune. It would be like having a permanent mask, or like, okay, we're gonna give you this mask and it works and it protects you, but it doesn't protect anybody else.
Well, most I would guess though that people that you know, who's not going to get the vaccine?
Well, I mean, I don't know, but there's also the idea of. I mean, are they going to make people get the vaccine?
Well, they have said. Oh, there's already people that have said that.
I know.
Other countries, they claim so far we're not going to force it here in the United States, supposedly. But I think they were talking in Canada
I think
and
it's
the
funny
UK.
that they call them jabs in England.
Yeah, jabs, right? Are you getting the jab? Yeah, no.
Well, anyway, all right. So we'll see. I mean, and of course, again, can't believe any damn news you read for the next 50 days. So.
Yeah, that's going to be. And as I said, I've seen some stuff that Fauci and some other people have said. Yeah, even after everybody gets vaccinated, it's still a good idea to wear your mask. I'm thinking, well, wait a minute. You know, what do you have to do to not wear your mask? Just tell me that, would you?
Yeah.
And you know, maybe double vaccine or something.
Double vaccine.
I got two coupons.
Exactly.
Here. So anyway.
All right. Well. We'll see what the madness is. I expect, you know, people to be dropping dead and everything.
You know, you'd have seen again. It's not that many corpses laying in the middle of the road so far.
Well, but I mean, the reports for the next 50 days, I expect Spike City.
That's what they've already said. We're coming into the most dangerous time now.
Ever.
This is it.
Ever.
This is really, you know, it's been bad up to now, but now for the next 2 months,
right.
really bad.
Well, 50 days.
50 days. Okay,
Yeah,
good.
Right after the election, for some reason.
Well, you mean after the inauguration?
Yeah. It's going to clear up.
Yeah, they did.
Or if at any time Trump concedes.
Yeah.
I expect a
Yeah. Now it's amazing how many people have said. You know, we can't even have Trump in until then. You know, he needs to go now.
Well, that's the whole point.
Get him out, and then have what's his name pardon him.
If you believe anything, any conspiracy theory ever, then the powers that be are fighting for control of the planet right now. And the fight is happening over the next 50 days, and at that point there'll be some sort of
control of the planet.
I mean, that's if, like I said, if you believe any conspiracy theory at all.
There's a Death Star up there.
Well, no,
you know, and you get the Imperial Walkers.
If there's Bilderberg or Illuminati or if there's a flat Earth or anything,
the Knights Templar.
If anything, that's right. If any of it's true, then Bigfoot is right now battling Dracula.
Okay.
So,
U.S. cyber firm FireEye says it was breached by nation-state hackers, whatever that means. This is one of the premier protection.
But it's not as secure as Dominion.
Well, right.
come
the
on.
cybersecurity company said the attack compromised its software tools used to test the defenses of thousands of its customers. Now, here is the premier cybersecurity company, premier. They got hacked. And of course, what they said is it was Russia. Russia. We're pretty sure it was Russia. It's just amazing. They said,
You know, my thought is, on these types of things, I would bet more than half the time it's an inside job.
well, it was with, when you think about the stuff that, what's his name, the guy that went to Moscow, went to
Snowden?
Snowden, yeah, I mean, he was inside the thing.
Yeah, I mean, just when the hacking comes, in order to create the security system, you think along certain lines, and then you know that stuff. And
It is interesting because like you say, an inside job. It reminds me in War Games when he went to get the password for the school thing, and he opened up the drawer,
Right.
and there was the password written on a piece of paper. That's what he did,
Right.
I mean, this is how secure is that?
That's it. And the other one is, I guess, is the kid's name and stuff.
Yeah, right.
I mean,
Yeah, right. That's right. He did. So interestingly enough, they're targeting this intelligence service called SVR in the Russian people. The Democratic, they hacked the DNC ahead of 2016, and they went to the Russian embassy and asked them, "Did you guys do the hacking?" And interestingly enough, the Russian embassy did not immediately respond.
Okay.
So I thought that was, I don't know why, but
Vladimir.
okay. The last thing I've got
Okay.
before we move on to your stuff is the big push on to disband Facebook or whatever, to break it up.
Oh.
48 states and the Federal Trade Commission unveil antitrust push to break up Facebook. Facebook shares are extending their losses today as the antitrust officials and a coalition of states sued the social media company for allegedly abusing its dominance to crush the competition. Federal Trade Commission and state attorneys general led by New York filed an antitrust complaint against Facebook on Wednesday, which I guess was today? No. Well, maybe it was today, yeah. Alleging a litany of actions to thwart rivals and protect its monopoly. The lawsuit also sought a permanent injunction to the unwinding of the Instagram and WhatsApp acquisitions. Now, Facebook has been buying up places like that to get some more money. Now, one of the things I've noticed is that as soon as the antitrust people show up, this is when it's already started, the market has already started to make its decision.
Yeah.
And if you think for 2 seconds that this is going to, if you think for 2 seconds this is going to stop Facebook or whatever, when they talk about the crush the competition and abusing its dominance, this is something that just can't stand, as far as I'm concerned. And the United
it's the
States,
same impetus. I mean, the impetus to invoke the trust busting is the impetus of the market to ditch Facebook. It's because the zeitgeist senses the problems with Facebook that it urges the trust busting to begin. You know what I mean?
yeah, I guess, because in the past, what's happened, now this is way before Facebook, but the most outstanding version of this was when the trust busters went to break up Standard Oil,
Right.
the Rockefeller. He had already, it was already on the downslope because of electricity for openers and because of other things that were happening. In other words, he at one point he had like 82% or something of the market for stuff like this, and then all of a sudden the Western oil line, Texas, Oklahoma, and all those places came online. Gas.
Well, right. The way that it would naturally happen is somebody gets a monopoly, and then everybody feels the pinch as the person tries to capitalize on their monopoly. And then when the pinch really starts to get felt, people find alternatives. The market, people generate the alternatives, whatever it is. Electricity, they find alternatives. By then, right about then, the pinch makes its way slowly to Washington, then they stick their big nose and say, we're going to fix this now.
That's right.
And you know what? If you just stop, wait, hold on a second, and let the people who are fixing it using the market solution take care of it, then you would have a natural proliferation of the competition.
Right.
And I noticed that in this particular example, they said that Facebook was crushing the competition by buying them out.
Yeah, who wouldn't want to be bought out?
Who wouldn't want to be bought out?
If they offer me enough money, I'm you got it.
That is that's the way the competition comes into existence.
Right.
It sees something that it can get, a piece of Facebook that it can do better than Facebook, and it does that thing better. And then Facebook either has to pay the price and get it, and become a larger, behemoth or whatever, or that thing starts to gain market share in that particular niche and start to carve out a little piece of the market in that thing. And that's the way that it works. But as you said, we have this weird, unfortunate, it's not weird, we identified, why it's there. The people who turn to government for solutions, who don't trust the market, who don't understand that the invisible hand is not a magic hand that's invisible or some shit. It's just you can't see it because it's people acting
in their own interest.
That's right.
They're not selfish. There's a difference between self-interest and selfish. And although selfish, I don't mind selfish either.
There's an overlap right there.
Yeah.
And this is they're going to help, and you're going to get charged for it, but you find solutions. And
well, I'm reminded of when I first got into selling computers. Of course, I've been a big Apple fan from day one. And I remember when we were selling Apple computers, I was at this store, and our margin was like 25 to 30% was our margin, which is unheard of. A commodity like the margin of profit on something like cinder blocks is 4 or 5%. In the grocery store, it's 2%. And they stay in business on that. Anyway, there was 25 or 30 or whatever it was percent, and of course it immediately attracted even IBM, for God's sakes, strolled into that. Said, Jesus, these guys are making a fortune. And so what IBM did was to set up a separate entity in Boca Raton and turned this guy loose on it and said, you go do it yourself. And he did everything off the shelf. And so Apple had a monopoly on the little home computers till about 1981 when IBM showed up. And of course nobody ever got fired for buying IBM, but that was the big difference. And when you're having profit margins of 25%, believe me, competition rushes into that.
Yeah. Well, that solves the problem. So you don't need these antitrust issues.
No, you don't.
I expected them to go after Facebook, and as I said, we have this remnant sort of Caesar-ish philosophy where they go after the real winners.
Right.
Wait a
minute, here's somebody that's really providing a service.
I remember when they broke up AT&T and the Bells when I was a kid. We had perfect phone service, no problems or anything, and they just went after them.
Well, they did go after him. I will say this. They did go after him for, I'm not sure about the breakup part, which I don't know about that part. I don't know exactly how that came about. But I do remember specifically that with AT&T's virtual monopoly, was you couldn't hitch up your answering machine to the phone line. That was if anything wanted to go on the phone line, AT&T had to come out and do it. Or Bell or whoever it was.
Well, and that's some kind of government rule, is what that.
Well, it was. You do have to understand the reason that AT&T had a monopoly was it was a government-sponsored monopoly.
Right, exactly.
AT&T said, "Look, we will hold our profit margin down to thus and so if you let us have the whole market."
That's all they have to do instead of busting it up is allow more competition.
Right.
For example, Facebook benefits from all sorts of patents. I guarantee it. All sorts of patent protection on their processes. Little copyright protection on the way things look and stuff. Let somebody rip it off entirely.
Yeah.
Let them literally rip the whole thing off entirely, and it says Facebook Lite or whatever it is, and then let the competition go forward and reign. And that's selection and freedom and the way
the market absolutely will work it out. And
it would if it was allowed.
I mean, I remember when one of the reasons that Rockefeller got so big was he bought up all those people, and so the same thing with Vanderbilt when he buying up the railroads.
Well, right, like
and
you
he
said,
was buying them up, and you didn't have to take the money.
Right.
Now, I realize there was a little bit of coercion, because what I'll do is what some people say, and this is always a losing deal anyway. What I'll do is I'll put my railroad line right next to yours, and I'll charge half. I'll lose money on it, but it's okay. I can pay for it with my other stuff.
Yeah, but as you know, I mean,
work.
there's only so much direct loss somebody can incur.
Right. Well,
even if they're a government, that's what the argument says. Oh, well, China's going to fund this and lose money and put us out of business, and then they're going to turn around and make a profit.
Right.
That's always the argument. But there's too much effort and logistics and stuff like that for that to be a standard business plan.
It was interesting. I forget who it was, but there was a fellow who was doing pretty well on something. I forget exactly what it was, and somebody else came along and said, "Well, I don't care. I'm going to lose money." Maybe it was peanut butter. So I don't know what it was. Anyway, he said whatever it was. He said, "I'm going to reduce the price, and I'll lose money on it, okay, but I'm putting this guy out of business." Well, what that guy did was he went over and bought all the stuff from the guy at that low price, and then he sold it.
Yeah, that's the old cartoon,
Yeah, that's the old cartoon.
And,
right?
I mean, look, there's always ways, and at the end of the day, when you try to game the market, you're asking for it. I mean, the best thing you can do is just do the best you can with what you got.
Yeah.
And that's it. And let everybody else do the same thing.
Well, that's what's happened in agriculture. When you think about it, in 1900, I don't know what it was, half the country was involved in, half the population was involved in agriculture. Today it's like 2%, 2.5% of people are involved in agriculture. And of course they have the huge farms and everything like that, but they still pretty, the only reason they have an agriculture bill is because these guys are so huge and powerful and lobbyists and everything like that.
Well, there's that, and then there's zoning restrictions on, you can't grow vegetables in your front yard and stuff like that. I mean, at the end of the day, if you just look at things from the freedom standpoint, there's usually a solution, a way out. But
there's always, here's the thing, there are always alternatives. They're always, I mean, they might not be.
I know there's MeWe is the Facebook alternative.
Oh, is that right?
Yeah, MEWE. I haven't really signed up for it, but I only go to Facebook now for stuff like, to find certain people.
Yeah. Well, I still do it quite a bit, but I mean, Parler's come on pretty strong. Again, I don't know if they have maybe 1 million, but they don't have 2 billion users.
Right.
And so
they have all the banned people, which is kind of fun.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting to see how a lot of that stuff does segment itself out. Mm-hmm. If you wanted to be a banned person or whatever, that's where you go.
Well, and if you want to read the stuff that would get the person banned from the other site. I mean, now when I'm on Twitter, like the first thing I look for is the little warning label. Yeah. And then there's when you scroll down to the bottom of the tweets, there's one that says show potentially offensive tweets. Well, those are the fun ones.
Yeah, right.
So, you just go right to the ones that they block, and then maybe it's a better audience.
Well, they've decided now, I think it was YouTube that has arbitrarily, unilaterally decided to ban outright what they consider to be not COVID truth stuff.
There you go.
Or vaccine not lies, but misinformation.
Right.
Who knows? All right, I'm done.
Okay. All right.
What do you got?
Well, actually, I got nothing.
Okay.
And fortunately, we're right at the end anyway, so as it turns out.
Oh, which reminds me, by the way, speaking of the free market, as we talked about, what's his name died the other day?
Walter Williams.
Yeah, and his last column is now available. Apparently he wrote it like before he croaked.
Okay.
And his columns are always...
From the grave. Well, hopefully it's something about lockdowns. That would be great. All right, well, thanks. Thanks, everybody, for joining us. We appreciate it. Hope you had a little fun. Leave a comment. And we will try to get to it. We'll be back on the 13th, Sunday.
So Friday the 13th falls on a Sunday this week.
Yes, it does.
That's what Churchy used to say.
All right. See you soon.
I wonder how many of our listeners know who Churchy was.
Probably all of them.